Super glad that you're here. And like I said, I was doing my workout this morning and I was thinking to myself, we talk a lot lately about personal development. It is definitely a passion of mine, but I've started to think to myself, I'm at a point in my life where personal development has become what I need to get to the next level. And I know that most of you on this call are there and a lot of people tuning into the Daily Mastermind are there, but a lot of individuals are still trying to create that success and that prosperity and some of the tangible things. And I know we get caught up in little deals. I mean, I was filling up my car at Costco with gas the other day. It's like $4 and I just wanted to punch the freaking machine, and just the little things that we still have to deal with day to day. And here's what it made me think. My background, my history, for those of you that know me, has been I've been a CEO. I've started and built multiple companies, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. In fact, in 2007 alone, we did $200 million in sales and saw 250,000 people live just in our events that year. And I started thinking to myself, on my journey to personal development and next leveling, and I think it's industry wide, meaning marketplace wide. People are feeling stuck. People are feeling overwhelmed. And so they're gravitating towards personal development and they're gravitating towards purpose and passion and help me get focused. And I'm stuck and I'm in my head and all this BS, which is a real thing. I get that. But when I say BS, what I mean is by nature, I'm a CEO. That's why I like to be the CEO mentor, because I know that there's obstacles in your head and things like that. But, sometimes just like my workout this morning, it boils down to just flat execution. And I want to talk to you just today about, even though we talk a lot about purpose and passion and mindset and consciousness and conscious awareness and being able to use your thoughts to take you to the next level, sometimes it just boils down to just good old fashioned, execution. And the bottom line is a lot of people, including myself, need to put the excuses aside if you want to get results. And so today it is the Midweek Mastermind, right? This is like your checkup from the neck up, but also like in life. Today, I want to talk to you specifically about like 5 core things that I always go back to that help me level up just in my day-to-day productivity. Because look, it's just like when I was building the coaching program for Harv Eker, you can make excuses or you can have results, but you can't have both. You can have reasons or you can have results. You can make excuses or you can have results, but you can't have both. And you can't get caught up in, I think a lot of times because of the economy and where we're at and everything, even the big influencers and podcasts and YouTubes and everything, everyone's talking about, conscious awareness and meditation and mindfulness, which is absolutely, those of you that know me know, is my personal passion. And I believe it's the core and the obstacle that keeps you from doing anything in life. But many of us are working too much on that. And we're not at the same time executing. And so what I want to ask today is just kind of number one, just some permission to kind of just give you, some raw, very direct advice on how to execute. And so if I have your permission to do that, for those of you that I can see, good, thumbs up. Okay. The other thing I want to ask is that you just really try to be present, meaning take some notes on these things. This is not like sit back and try to analyze in your life how this applies to you. Take some notes, engage a little if you want. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to cover as much as I can, as quick as I can. I'll try to watch the chat as well. But here's the bottom line. We've got to get executing, because execution, just like motion, just like I talk about moving the body, creates the mind, creates emotion, creates results. Execution creates results, period. Like, let's just be honest. The more you get done in your life, the happier you're going to be, the more success you're going to have, the more time you'll have to think about and build your mindset. Because I was able to execute so much, it's given me the freedom to be able to really develop myself and unleash my true potential, which you got to create to be able to create. So I have these 5 things that I always go back to. I just found myself doing it the other day because I was in the concept. I really enjoy mentoring and I enjoy building and creating. And so I love to gravitate to that, but that's not necessarily what everyone needs. What they need is these 5 core things that I just by default go back to. So I'm going to list these 5 things out for you, talk about them, relatively quickly. And hopefully there's some areas in here. And the reason I'm hitting these is because if I have a trouble reminding myself of these, I know for a fact most people do, because I also know I work harder than most people. And I struggle with it. So the first thing is that the other problem, I just want to set this up. Most people, when they start their day, they don't already have a plan they're executing on. They're trying to, they might have a job or they might have a structure that they got to do the things they got to do, but they really don't have a plan of how they're going to create their life and what they want from their life and where they're going with their life and what they want to do. And so these 5 things are designed to always bring you back to the plan, always bring you back to the plan that you've created. So first and foremost, if you haven't identified these things and really clarified them, you need to do that. But number 2, you've got to constantly remind yourself to get back to these 5 core principles that are going to guide you. They're kind of like milestones or lighthouses for you in your life, right? And the first is a foundation. The foundation consists for me of a couple of things: a schedule and daily rituals. You have to start your day with a schedule and daily rituals. And what that does is it takes the pressure off you to constantly figure out where you should be spending your time. And it takes the pressure off you on whether or not you're growing and developing and not just getting caught up in the day. Because when you have daily rituals in your day, you can get caught up in executing because you know that you got your mindset covered, your fitness covered, your affirmations covered. So I bookend my days with rituals. I get up in the morning, I usually get up between 5, 6 o'clock, and I do my meditation, then my workout, then my affirmations, do a little reading. And then I jump into my day by 8, 9 o'clock. You guys catch me a little bit earlier on the Midweek Mastermind. And so then at the end of the day is when I'll usually do journal reading, reflection, prayer. That's when I do that. So I kind of bookend my days, and then I can feel like the pressure's off and I could just execute all day long. I'm not constantly worrying about whether I'm growing personally. But having a schedule is the other key thing. See, successful people don't make a list every day. Successful people already know what they're going to do the next day. They already know what they're going to do the next week. Really successful people are really planned out probably a month in advance. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, this doesn't mean, I hate people that think you got to leave space in your schedule. No, you don't. Space is just a way to get lazy. Now, you can have flexibility. So you could pack your schedule so that no matter what, whether I feel like it or not, I know I'm productive. But you can always change things and you can always decide whether you're going to move your priorities. But if you don't have a schedule already, then you don't have a path. You're just coming up with it. You're just trying to figure it out. You're calling audibles. And that is the worst possible thing to do, is call audibles during the day when you have an empty schedule, or you've got a couple of meetings, you're trying to figure out what to do in between. So the foundation, number 1, is you've got to have a schedule and daily rituals. Those 2 things, the daily rituals will make sure that and ensure that you're personally growing. And the schedule is going to make sure that you're on track to the goals that you've set. I'm not talking about filling a calendar with all the Zoom meetings and the things you could do. And that I'm talking about specifically filling your calendar with things that you know you need to be doing to progress you in your life. So that first thing is you have to start with a foundation. And we're going to do a ton more about that. I appreciate your comment, Jared, because I think the idea is that, and as I get through these other 5, you'll see that they'll kind of cycle back up to each other as to what should be in your schedule and what should be in your daily rituals. But a foundation is what you start with, but you can't start with it until you do these other things. The second thing is clarity. Brendon Burchard talks about this. Most people talk about clarity, and clarity for me always boils down to kind of 2 things: your purpose and your vision. We talk about things, and understand that with me, after years and years and years, 25 years now of dealing with some of the biggest thought leaders out there, some of these things may be automatic for me, but you got to understand I'm trying to structure them in a way that you'll catch them all and really put some thought into it. So clarity for me involves purpose and vision. We've talked about the fact that in order to be fulfilled and happy, you got to have some kind of purpose, and don't get caught up in what your purpose is. Your purpose is really, it can change. Your purpose is what really makes you passionate. It's what you enjoy doing. It's sort of tied to what Robert Stuberg talks about with your unique talent, things that you're excellent at and you're passionate about. But if you don't kind of have a sense of what that is, so you don't have a litmus test to compare everything up against. Like when someone comes to me and says, hey, we really got to drill down into these operational things. I'm like, I'm good at that. I'm great at that, but I don't love it. So that is going to be less in my schedule than anything else. So you got to have in your clarity, you got to have clarity on your purpose, and you got to have clarity on your vision, where you're going. So my daughter called me up the other day. She's probably listening to this, and she's like, she's got 2 kids, single mom. She's doing, she's working for this company that sell these minky blankets online, and they're doing Facebook Live shows, and they're just crushing it. They're getting on talking about nothing, and like selling blankets, like a couple $100,000 in these like blankets. and she loves it, and she's making good money. And she called me up the other day and she's like, I really want to be a delivery nurse. How do you think I should just do less of this and do that? And I said, look, it's not a hard decision if you know what you want. If you know where you want to end up, then all your other decisions get made by that. See, our problem is we're making decisions every day based on our situation instead of our vision. So if I want to impact millions of lives with the daily mastermind and mentoring, and a guy calls me up yesterday and says, hey man, I've got a new, an opportunity, do a small investment here. It'll make you 10 times your return in about 60 days. And I'm like, that's some great money, but is it taking me closer to my vision? Because if it's not, that's not a hard conversation to have. But if it isn't, it's a very big distraction. So in this clarity, you got to have a certain idea of what your purpose is, but you got to have a vision of where you want to go. And don't let your vision of the future rob you of your execution in the present. But you've got to have a clear line of sight as to where you're going. And here's the other thing. I talk about it with purpose and vision. You don't have to get caught up in, I know exactly what my purpose is. Purpose changes, but so does vision. Mark Zuckerberg didn't know what Facebook was going to be, but he had a vision. And as he was getting closer to that vision, it might have moved a little. And then he got closer to that vision, it moved a little. But you have to at least have a lighthouse. Dean Graziosi talked about this in a podcast I heard with Ed Milet the other day. How do you go to success and then go to a greater level of success? Well, you sort of move the lighthouse along the way. It's the same with relationships. You can't just be like, my destination. Okay, got it. I'm married. Okay, now that's when it goes wrong. You got to move that lighthouse. You got to keep growing and becoming better and better, and seeking a better relationship, because that's how you're going to have a better one. So this clarity is so key. And there's so much here that I hope you're getting it. So we talked about having a foundation with your rituals and schedule, and then clarity of sort of your purpose and vision. None of these things, keep in mind, are things you need to get caught up in. You could start with it being anything, but as you go back to it every day, it's going to get clearer and clearer and clearer. The third thing, and now we're getting into the meat of it, is you got to have focus. You absolutely have to have focus. Now you can see what I mean by it's hard to have focus if you don't have clarity of your purpose and vision. But once you do, you got to have focus. And that's exactly what the acronym means. Follow one course until successful. It doesn't say do a whole bunch of things till one hits really well. It doesn't say you can focus on a lot of things. I mean, focus on one course until successful. And maybe through that process, your vision and purpose will change a little bit and your focus might change a little bit, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the key to have your focus, in my opinion, the two things that I work with is number one, KPIs, and number two, extreme discipline with that. So your KPIs, your key performance metrics, your key performance indicators are measurements that you have based on where your vision and goals are. So if your goal is, whether it's relationship, whether it's business, whether it's a job, whether it's a new income opportunity or things like this, it might be context, it might be presentations, it might be, but make sure these things are result-based as much as productivity-based. It's not talking to people and doing presentations. It's not making context for your business. It's that, because we know activity leads to productivity and results, but it's not always activity, which we'll talk about in a minute. These key performance metrics are the metrics that move the needle. You can have all kinds of metrics in an NBA basketball game, rebounds and points and all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, the main KPI is points and wins, period. That's the main KPI. Now, how do you get points and wins? You lower the turnovers, you get more assists, you have more time with the ball. Those are the other KPIs that you can run down at. But start your KPIs on what is the results I'm tracking. And if you don't have, now when you have those results, it's easy to focus. Is my activity getting me those results? What are the activities that get me those results? And then discipline. Discipline means you have to have the ability to say no. You have to have the ability to structure your time and your schedule. And so to be focused, it's much easier to be focused if you have KPIs and you have discipline, right? And so that's that third thing. I'm trying to push through these fast because I know I'm recording this, but also because I think we can maybe hit a couple questions if we have time. So you start your day with a foundation. This is your schedule and daily rituals. And then you're going to move to clarity. Got some purpose and vision in there. And this is, by the way, this is just things that I use. Each one of these could be a whole freaking masterclass on how to do them effectively, but just know you start with your schedule and rituals, and then you get a little clarity and vision, and then you're focused with your KPIs and discipline. You're making progress every day. Those are like your milestones to get back to. Your course corrections, right? The fourth thing is execution, because all that matters is execution. Your effort doesn't matter. Listen to what I'm saying. Your effort doesn't matter if you don't get results. It's not about the process and all this. You do have to get results, or at some point you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get depressed. You're not going to be growing. Growing is results, right? And maybe your KPIs are reading every day. I think you can have KPIs in your personal life, your physical life, your business life, your, all those kind of things. And you've got to, yeah, I love that, Jared, this 80-20 rule, right? So it's going to be 20%, but this is why execution splits into two things for me. And it goes straight to what you're mentioning in the chat. Execution comes down to massive action and productivity. Now, I know there's activity, but for me, I know the activity is going to come because by nature, we're hardwired to just do busy shit, right? Like just to do stuff. That's what we do. But what we want to have is when a massive action, because then while you're moving, you're going to get it honed in, right? Move the ball, run the play, move the ball, because then you can get better. But if you're not creating action, ain't nothing to fix. I'd rather you're failing your way faster to success. So fail faster, move faster, take massive action, whether it's effort in your relationship or your business, or executing as a salesperson, executing as a manager, executing as a business owner, executing on your hustle. You got to take action. We're too caught up in trying to overcome our obstacles and find our purpose and passion. You've got to take action. And the key is to analyze what the productive activities are, because it is true. 20%, well, there's two principles. I don't even remember the names of them. It doesn't matter at this point, but the time you allot for things will fill itself. So that's why people that have a 40-hour schedule that were to reduce it to 30 and say, I got to get my work done in 30, they'll get it done in 30. If they tell themselves they're working a 50-hour week, or you're sitting behind your computer, you're going to work 50 hours. But you're probably going to get the same results, because the other principle is that 20% of the things you do create 80% of the results, just like 80% of the things you do don't, right? So you've got to be productive when you're taking action. And I just have I don't have it here, but I just have this little card I come back to every once in a while in my planner. So I know I'm building a foundation, I'm getting clarity, I'm staying focused, and then I'm executing. And then here's the biggest one that we all struggle with, that I guarantee most of you are not doing, and that is accountability. Accountability is a difference maker. It's the reason I have a trainer in the morning at the gym. Every single possible exercise he could have me do after 25 years of working out is not new to me. It's accountability. And that accountability you can do in two things. And these are if you just ended with these two things, the only way you'll get these is to have all this other stuff I talked about. And that is structure and a scorecard. You got to have structure, because we are human beings. We don't feel like acting in spite of our mood. We don't feel like keeping our schedule. We don't feel like doing the activity, or the productivity instead of just the activity. So when you have structure, you will. Sometimes I structure meetings in my schedule because I don't know that I'm prepared for them, but I do it anyway because I go do the meeting. And Lisa, you know this, and we get tons of shit done all during that meeting because I structured it so that I would get to it. Sometimes I don't think I'm going to get to half my stuff, but I structure it so I do, whether it's a personal trainer in fitness or an accountability partner buddy, or it's a program you're going through. If you want to learn a certain skill, stop trying to say, I'm going to do it when I have time, and just structure an hour a day in your schedule and study it. If you want to learn investing, if you want to learn how to protect your assets, if you want to learn how to better relationships, that's why I structure my daily rituals. I structure the time. People try to schedule meetings during that time, ain't going to happen. That's my structured time for daily rituals. Then when I have that time, I structure what I'm doing, right? I'm doing this Sam Harris Waking Up app, which is great. And so every morning I've got little theory, a little meditation, then I go into my workout, and then I go into that. But that's structure. Because if I just said I'm going to meditate in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some transcendental meditation. Am I going to pull up the Calm app, this or that? I structured it for the last 30 days to where I'm going to take this 20 minutes. And these are the two things I'm going to do. And it's on a 30-day deal. It's structure. and a scoreboard. Without a scoreboard, and without a scoreboard, all you're doing is playing. I don't care if you're doing business. I'm not talking personal. All you're doing is playing if you don't have a scoreboard. And here's the thing about a scoreboard. A scoreboard allows you to be accountable. And most of the people on this call, in my masterminds and in Facebook group and our community, most of us are our own best critics, unfortunately. And having a scoreboard. So when I got started in sales real early, I got married right out of high school at 17, had twins, and I was in sales. And having that board up there for everybody to see was huge, because you wanted the recognition, you wanted the accomplishment, but having to turn in your stats was also huge, because you couldn't create any excuses for why you didn't get your results. And here's the interesting thing, and I know it's just like an obvious thing, but it's not. That's why I have a written planner, not just one online, so I can see how productive I'm being. It's sort of a scoreboard in itself. And if you showed me your calendar right now, I could tell you why you're not creating results in your life. And I could, because I could see what you've been doing. And I could see whether you've been productive or not. And I could see the activities you're doing. And also, if you have this scoreboard in front of you, let's just take it to business. Whether you're in sales or not, you're always in sales. And you're contacting, or you're inviting, or you're presenting, or you're selling your product, and you're getting sales, and you're tracking those stats. You can look at a scoreboard and know what's going wrong. And I don't mean a scorecard as well, because you can look up at the game and look at the scoreboard. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. The scorecard is the stats as well. You can see how many times you're turning the ball over. That's why these analysts on ESPN and everything are so great, because they can say, listen, we'll tell you exactly why they lost the game. They had 3 times as many turnovers. You look at an MMA fight, I'll tell you exactly why he lost. This guy had 300 strikes. He had 20. This guy controlled 80% of the time. He controlled 10% of the time. But you can't just look at it like, because in MMA matches, it might be like he won by just a couple points, but you don't know where or why or how. A scorecard helps you stay focused. It helps you be productive, but it helps you make course corrections along the way. And it keeps you accountable. That's why it's in the accountability bracket. So the bottom line is, you've got to start executing. You got to start treating yourself like the CEO of your life. No one's going to do it but you. You can get all the help you want, but you're the only one that can do it. And so to be the CEO in your life, that's why I feel like I got to always come back to these things where I know I have a foundation. Number one is a thing you should never think about. If you're trying to figure out how to put daily rituals or a schedule in place, man, you should have done that a long time ago, but that's okay. Every day is a new day. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you can start making a change. But get a freaking foundation, a schedule in place where you've got that schedule and rituals to keep yourself in a foundation. Then you can make sure you have some degree of clarity with some purpose and passion. And everybody knows what they want to do, and a little bit of clarity where they want to be. That's not a hard one. It's just a good reminder to be able to do. And then if you can take that and you can stay focused and have some KPIs and discipline, that's a good reminder. Execute on taking action. If by default you don't know what to do, there's some days that I'm like, man, I'm just hitting a roadblock. I'm just going to get up and just start making phone calls and talking to people, and things evolve, because your mind is a smart subconscious thing. It's gonna guide you in the right area. Your vision is going to keep that reticular activating system in your brain finding the things it needs to find. But it doesn't if you're not out there. If you're sitting in your office or sitting at your house and you're not out there, you can't even find the things you need. So just start moving and creating action. But most importantly, I think most of you keep a scorecard. Now look, don't let all this overwhelm you, because at the end of the day, I just walked you through. I could take each one of you, Katie, Lisa, Jared, Deanna, I could take each one of you and just say, okay, let's just do these couple of rituals each day and you'll have a win. Let's get a quick schedule. I already know what you want to do with your purpose. You got a little bit of clarity where you want to end up. Just give me a monetary goal, or give me what you want your life to be like. Oh, great, we're there. But you're going to remind yourself of that to make your decisions. And let's just come up with 2 key performance metrics that are results that will get you progress on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then make sure that we're tracking your schedule so you're doing productive things, because then you've got this scorecard that every once a week, that is when a mentor, a manager, a coach, a business owner, if you're not in, Jared, I know you know what I'm talking about, and Katie, you could be the same way. If you could implement this stuff with people that you work with, and you have these little KPIs, look, The biggest challenge with most organizations is people aren't under a common vision. They don't have KPIs. So they're overdoing this, they're overdoing this. Now, their KPIs and their KPIs could be different, but as long as those KPIs, those key things they got to do, align with the organization's number one goal, and that's the way to do it. If it's building a community with content, then this person's got to get the content done. This one's got to post it on time with a schedule. This person's got to create and watch the engagement, but they're all designed to grow the community, right? So you know what the KPIs are, but write them down and then track them. And if you can, in an organization or business, make them public. I'm telling you what, man, when people know whether they're being productive or not, I've had many, many call centers and guys will come up and be like, oh, I just don't know what I'm selling. I'm, dude, you're an idiot. Look, you don't even dial a 10th the number of dials of this other guy. You're never even doing presentations. There's nothing to talk about. Just call more. Another guy might be like, I'm calling all the time, but I'm not doing this. You don't know. You don't know how long they're on the phone. You don't know how long people are doing things. If you have metrics, your job becomes so easy because all you got to do is look at the numbers to make 90, at least 80% of the decisions. Then the rest can be, let's sit down and talk and find out what's holding you back. And I would argue that most of you, if you did that stuff, 80% of the mindset, obstacles, discipline, issues, challenges you're having would disappear because nothing disappears problems like results, period. And here's the thing, you know, I really do believe in my life, I've adopted that mantra that, you know, you can have reasons or you can have results. You can have excuses or you can have results. And the bottom line is, I know that most of us have all the answers and direction inside of us. We just have trouble holding ourselves accountable. And so creating some structure around it. That's why as a CEO, I've always been able to go in and kind of try to get the results moved. I don't go in and try to figure out what everybody's got going on. It's always the same thing. Find out what their goals are, find out what drives them, what their purpose and vision and talents are, create metrics, hold them accountable to the metrics, and the organization grows. And, you know, all of us, all of you, especially if you're listening or connected to the Daily Mastermind, have amazing talents. You just got to get focused and you got to start craving execution. The cool thing about execution is the process, not the result. See, we got to stop craving getting what we want and start craving having and wanting what we have. And execution, that's got to be in your DNA just as much as marketing and sales. Creating results. And that's why we get so rewarded by personal growth, because we're getting results in our life. But there's nothing wrong with having tangible stuff too. Because I'm telling you right now, you can do a hell of a lot more with money and prosperity, even just influencing people, than you can struggling. So those are my thoughts for today. And I hope there's some things you can take away from that. I know it's a lot of other things, but midweek, I'm always checking. Am I focused on my mindset? Am I focused on my vision? Am I clarity? Am I checking? Am I tracking? Am I keeping score of my metrics? And I think those are good reminders. And so we're here on Wednesday. That's good reminders. And I think that'll help you with what you're doing. Sometimes I got to put my CEO hat on and just execute. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever worked with me in organizations, because I've had thousands of employees, that's generally my path. And because then as people gravitate to success, then I can drill into what's holding them back from really going next level. But sometimes, even when you're being successful right now, that's the stuff you got to focus on. And so that's my message for today. I hope that helps you. I hope you can get something from it. Feel free to hit me up, George at g3worldwide.com. Hit me up with any questions, feedback. Maybe you've got all these things, but there is something mentally that you're struggling with. And that's okay. That's okay. So that's my message for today.